Good afternoon. I would have been here even if they didn't ask me to speak. They asked me to kind of talk about Anyim's political, social, cultural history, and you really can't separate that from the ancient speaking from, it was Anyim who first told me about the pyramids and so forth.
Yes.
This is a real true story. I'm standing here today because of Anyim, Dr. Karinga, Ted Hayes, all these brothers from the African American Association, which is the first group before the Panther Party, before the US organization, Black Student Unions, they formed. And then the group in the North was Bobby Seals, Huey Newton, and all those people, same group. And the way we ran into them, we were over at Cal State, LA City College, and the brother said, look, we got a better Black history program than the Kappas. And they were trying to recruit us, this was the Omegas. So in '63, they were discussing, not they had a better dance program, that they had a better Black history program. So we went to the Omega House, and there was Anyim and Dr. Karinga, and they stood up and spoke fluent Swahili.
Yes.
Formal Swahili and informal Swahili, because there were Tanzanian students and the Kenyan students said he speaks street Swahili. Also, self-taught.
Yes.
And Brother Anyim, they said, well, we asked Anyim and Dr. Well, where are y'all, where are you at? Because we came to LA. We didn't come to LA because we wanted to be in the sunshine or go to the swimming pools or go to the beach. We came to be with Black folks because I came from a small town that was no Black folks. So we went to the Aquarium bookstore on Budlong and King Boulevard, and there we saw all these minds and all this energy and so forth. So we stopped right there, didn't join the Omegas. I joined the Afro-American Association, and Anyim at that time was 36 years old, and he was just on fire. What you know is Anyim, and that drive was always there. And they set a tone for us of intellectuality, Black intellectuality, Black critical thinking, and then about who's working, who's not working. You could always know that Anyim was always working somewhere, as Sister Maxine said. So that was the kind of introduction, and that's how we got, there'd be no Pan-African Film Festival or the movement without Anyim sitting down, talking to us, guiding us, and anytime we needed some kind of understanding, we could go see him. But he was also practical. He always said, count your money. Always. That's why the school he built. Because he said, look, we're in capitalism, so we really got to get the money straight, get the politics straight, and get everything consciously put together. So he was that kind of brother, and he laid the foundation. And he expected us to lay the foundation after him. And he wanted everyone in this room to know that you have to get up and do something. One of the last times I saw him, he said, Brother Babu, let me ask you something. Did, in the 60s, we stand up and say, I'm doing fine, brother, I got up this morning? I said, I don't think so. He said, something like, well, I'm awake, I'm awoke, I'm not dead yet. He said, I don't think so, brother. He said, yeah, we knew we was gonna stand up, we knew we were gonna do all of that. We were trying to figure out what we were gonna do when we got up in the morning. And he said, but I think the Black folks are in such bad shape, they're glad to get up in the morning.
Yes, sir.
That's how profound Anyim was. So he said, go back and tell folks, y'all got to get up. If you do something, you won't worry about getting up because you'll be able to figure out how to stay up if you sit there thinking. So that's what I want to pass on to you, that Anyim is. He's the only way to becoming an ancestor. And he said, now when I get to be an ancestor, y'all come check on me and ask me questions, I'm going to be watching you. So thank you very much.
God bless you guys. Giving praise to God. I've been asked to talk about the impact that Dr. Anyim Palmer had on my life and my family's life. And to this day, I met Anyim Palmer when I was a student athlete, 18-year-old student athlete at Cal State Los Angeles in 1975. Okay. And I took a class, Pan-African Studies 101.
Okay.
And the first time that I ever heard someone had black athletes stop talking in their class, he said, "Are you going to be one of them dumb jocks that come up here and get exploited for your athleticism and not take anything away?"
Yes, yes.
And at that point, the light came on. The first 2 books I ever read, fully, I read through Anyim Palmer. He assigned 2 books. They came before Columbus. And Agents of Repression, which was an out-of-print book, but he always managed to have some copies. Like 40 copies for everybody in his class. And what it taught us, he was the first to say that if you wanted to hide something from black people, put it in a book. And from that point on, I read a book a month for the last 40 years. I have a library in my home, a 5,000 book library. To this day, I still go there once a month, buy a book. And then, when I graduated and had a family, I stayed in touch with Anyim. And he used to really say things that made it clear that this wasn't a game for us.
Come on.
And he, when I had children, he said, "Why would you let your oppressor teach your children?"
Okay.
Malcolm said it another way. Malcolm said, "Only a fool will let his enemy teach his children." And that was so clear to me. And so I had 3 kids at Marcus Garvey all at one time.
Yes.
And Sister Linda was there when I went through my first divorce. I confided in Anyim. And Anyim was pretty simple about it. He said, "Brother, the good Lord giveth, and the good Lord taketh away." And so I had custody of my children. And I would bring these girls. This is my oldest daughter, Kelly. I'm going to allow her to give her own account. But they was little bitty babies then. And whenever we would get out of the car, at that time Marcus Garvey only went to the 6th grade. And they would be greeted by Sister Linda. And Sister Linda would look at them and say, "Your daddy did your hair today, huh?" You niggas be like, but it didn't affect their self-esteem because they thought they could do anything. Anything. And when I decided that I wanted to be an academician, and go back and get my PhD, I went to Claremont because that's where Anyim got his PhD in political science. And he told me everything they was going to do because I went as a race scholar. Okay? He told me everything they were going to do. Okay? And then he always had little sayings to remind you that everybody in our community is not our friend. He used to say things, every brother is not a brother and every smile is not friendly. And he wouldn't talk about anybody. He would just say, when he would say, "Okay, brother, be careful," that was him letting you know that somebody in our community needed to be watched. He just say, "Okay, brother, be careful." Because he didn't believe in talking against black people.
Right.
Okay, he said there's enough of us out there doing that, that we don't have to do that to each other. He said, but, you know, we ain't stupid either. You know, we know that there are agents in our community that keep distractions going.
Yes, yes.
Because that's their job, is to create this unity. And so this brother had such an imprint on my life. I'm very honored to be asked to give tribute to the man who helped shape me and shape my intellectualism. Now I'd like to allow my daughter Kelly to share her thoughts. She was one of the early Marcus Garvey students.
So Marcus Garvey is important to me on so many levels. I'm so thankful and blessed, and Sister Saunders, that I was able to go there from preschool through all the way to elementary school. And it was important for me to go there at such a young age and have that as my foundation. With me now being in corporate America, I'm able to approach business with a mindset that I'm a queen. I cannot. It's difficult because when you walk into a room, particularly with the name Kelly Essex, they don't see a black woman coming in. And when you come in there and you're carrying yourself, because I was taught to from 5 years old by Dr. Anyim and Sister Saunders, I'm a little nervous. I wasn't expecting to speak. But just having that foundation has taken me so far, as well as my sisters. My sister that's not here, she's a wonderful wife and mother of 4 and owns 2 businesses. I have another sister that just graduated Georgia Tech in environmental science, environmental engineering. And it's just having this kind of foundation, starting with knowing where you come from and, you know, not having Black History once a year, knowing every day, every day that, you know, you were made for this, or you're woven for this. It's woven within you for greatness. It's just been a blessing, and it's something that it's an educational system that I want to send my children to. God bless everybody. Thank you.
My name is Sawandi Suleiman. I'm the son of Brenda Spencer, who was the first teacher here at Marcus Garvey School.
All right.
See, as I'm going down the list, I'm looking at the future of Marcus Garvey students. Hey, Black Child, ode to the ancestors, brings back a lot of memories. I'll be honest though, I haven't said the Black pledges for what seems like decades, but guess what? At the drop of a hat, you know, I can recite them. And the Black pledges, they were messages for my classmates, for our teachers, and fellows of the community to never give up, to cherish your fellow Black man or woman, so that we can complete the mission entrusted to us. And that was by Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who created the UNIA, an organization that celebrated reclamation, our past, our culture, our home from whence we came, and to one day return home. A generation later, Dr. Palmer surveyed the educational landscape as an author, a teacher, a man of doctoral studies, which emphasized teaching our own by our own.
Yes.
Because only then can true reclamation take place.
Yes.
This is not a militant point of view. This is passive instinct, it's human instinct, and we as humans are naturally sympathetic to the plights of which of people we can relate to. And it was Dr. Anyim's vision to complete the mission set forth by his predecessor, whom the school was named after, through education. Sometimes I stop and think how ecstatic it would have been if Dr. Anyim had the opportunity to reach out to the community post-internet. You know, through social media, what kind of fire he would have stoked? How effective and efficient he would have used that mode of transmission. Well, the vision set out to complete Marcus Messias Garvey's unfinished business. It's still here. To return to the home from whence we came. And it's now up to the harvest. It's up to the future, to the students that are going to be saying the Black Pledges. As Dr. Palmer has graciously returned home to the greatest home, we know he would not have left without having the last word. He left us with a mission, and that is to make the pride of the UNIA a part of our DNA.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you. My condolences to the Palmer family.
We're taking you on a journey. A journey that is showing a great tribute to the life of Dr. Anyim Palmer. We had invited Professor Amin Ra, and let's give him our peace and blessings. He's at home in the bed with the flu. But let's wish him well. And so I asked Brother Babu to step in at the last minute. And didn't he give a wonderful, wonderful delivery covering what we call the awakening. Dr. Anyim's activism days. And then we asked one of his former students, Brother Anthony Samad, to talk about his days at Cal State and the difference he made in the lives of many, many young Black students. And that was the planting of the seeds. And following him, Brother Sawandi Salimu, one of our former students, studying to become a doctor. While we're talking about our alumni, where are you alumni? Please stand. Because I know you're going to enjoy what we are about to present. I know it's going to bring back many, many wonderful memories. Give them a round of applause. Parents as well. Parents, stand. Former Garvey parents, stand there because you're part of the alumni as well. Please stand. Look at them. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for helping us celebrate the life of Dr. Anyim Palmer. To be young
yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes.
And that's what they are, gifted in black. Young, gifted in black. We're going to have acknowledgments from someone from the Palmer family. I'm going to ask Brother Rod to come to the stage, Dr. Anyim's grandson, who played a great role in his life when Anyim fell ill. We helped him and he helped Garvey take care of Anyim. Yes, he did. Just some acknowledgments from the family.
Thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Before I say another word, first of all, there's nothing I could have done to help take care of my grandfather without this woman right here with the camera taking pictures. Her name is Beverly Loud. And if you don't know her, as much as everybody says they love my grandfather here today, she honestly loved him. She took care of him. When he couldn't speak, when he couldn't lift his arms, when he couldn't do nothing, she took care of him as a person that loved him completely. So I would like to please see if we can acknowledge her with a hand. I don't have too much to offer, just to say that, you know, for me, as much as he impacted everybody here, for me, he was just my grandfather. In his later years, before he really took ill and got bad, we used to go to a cafe on Western, and I wish I could remember the name of it. It was right below Adams. It was like an M&M's type soul food cafe. And we would sit there and we would talk so much about life. Things like, for instance, our family name is actually Palmo, going way, way back. And at one point we were going to try to figure out at what point it changed and why it changed, but we just, you know, we didn't have time. You know, I attended the church that a few of you out here might have remembered, the church that we had with Brother Red. Those were some great times, some great lectures from everybody from Kwesi to Renoko Rashidi. There was so many people I'd never heard of and learned a lot from going to those lectures. But the most miraculous thing I'm going to remember, I'm going to see if I can get out of this feedback, this is important to me. When he began to fall ill with Alzheimer's, he did something miraculous. He started that book, The Failure of Public Education in the Black Community. And as I could see the Alzheimer's coming on, he just sat there. You know, I lived with him at that time, so I was beginning to help care for him then. And he would sit and look at that computer screen for hours. And then he would type a sentence, and then he would go back, and then he would say, come read it. Come read it. And I'd read it, I'd be like, well, you typed that sentence about 2 sentences ago. And then, oh, brother, oh, man, okay. And I would try to walk him through it, and he'd be like, no, just leave me be, I'm gonna get through this. And then one day he had a finished book, and I couldn't believe it. And anytime I would try to look over his shoulder and proofread, he'd tell me to go away, but it was just done one day, and I could not believe in that state. He wasn't too bad off, but I didn't think he was well enough to finish a book. And I'll be gosh darn if he finished that book, because it was important to him. And it was his legacy. The greatest thing I think all of us as individuals that know him, because everybody here probably has a story about what he meant to them, or what kind of friend he was, or what kind of person he was. But for me, the thing I will always leave with him the most is that he just told me to go out and be your own person in this world, no matter what you do, no matter what stands in your way. Because some of the stories he told me about growing up in the South, there is no excuse for any person under 50 not to get out in this world and make some of yourself. He told me some horrible stories that I can't even imagine, in the conditions he grew up in, the conditions when, some may know and some may not know, he fought in World War II against the Japanese in the Philippines. He's actually a decorated sniper. And talking about that, having to worry about the white folks on one side and the Japanese on the other, I can't imagine it. I cannot imagine being in a situation under those conditions, but he was a great man. There's so much that he left me with that I will never tell anybody, but it's here, it's my thing, my gift from him. I'm gonna miss him every day, and I got to name my oldest son here, give him, his name is Jordan Anyim Palmer. And I wanted to make sure I had something where I could think about him every day. Just happy here to be part of this, and I want to thank you all again for making me remember outside of myself for the last week and a half, where I've been pouring over so many memories and feelings for myself, just what a great man he was to you guys too and to the community. So thank you.
But I want to acknowledge today that there are 6 generations of Palmer men in this room. Starting from Terry to my 2-year-old grandson. All of these sons are here. We have Tara, my son is next. Hubert Palmer is next, please stand. Johnny Palmer is next. Robert Palmer is next. And Sean Palmer is the youngest Palmer.
Portion of our celebration, we ask that you keep it to 2 minutes, please. I just wanted to put the family ahead of that so that they could give their acknowledgments. 2 minutes. We're gonna do it like they do on an award show. Start playing that 2 minutes, okay?
Greetings, my name is Bobby Glanton Smith, and I had the honor and pleasure of meeting Dr. Palmer in San Diego when I was living there. He did a presentation to some educators, and he cut right to the chase. And shortly after that, I moved to Los Angeles, and I met a brother named Muhammad Nasruddin, who had children at the Marcus Garvey School. And being a Southern brother myself, when I went by that school, the first thing I realized is that I had been misled about our ability to learn, but I was terrible at math, and I was in the kindergarten watching these kids do mathematics that I still can't do to this day. And I went to Dr. Palmer and said, I want to do something. And he said, what is it, brother? And I said, man, I want to raise some money for the school. He said, how are you going to go about that? I said, there's several corporations around the world that need geologists, physicists, and just all kind of math-driven disciplines. And he said, man, these white folks ain't gonna do nothing because Shell has just donated about $10 million to the LAUSD. And I said, man, after seeing what I've seen today, I'm gonna go get some money. And he said, I'll give you a shot at it, brother. And I was able to go out and attract some of the corporations based on the notion that they needed our intelligence. Now here we are today, all those many years later, challenged with the same thing, and that is this time we need to do it internally. We need to raise money for this school and institutionalize it around the nation. And I told Sister Simons a couple of days ago that we're going to put the band back together, and we're going to save the legacy of this school $1 at a time. And I'm going to close by saying something Marcus Garvey said. What men have done, men can do. Up, you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. Thank you.
Reparations in memory of our ancestors.
Right.
My name is Molly Bell, and I'm straight out of Compton. First of all, I just want to say that Dr. Anyim Palmer is so important to me. Now, I wasn't a baby. I'm 70 years old now. So I didn't go to his school as a child. But sometimes Steve Coakley, the bootleg buster, was there. And we would come to hear him. Sometime Ashwa Quasi was there. And we come to hear him there. Sometime Carl Nelson would have him on the radio show. And Carl told me to tell everyone up here that he is here in spirit. He said that that he and Anyim Palmer were personal friends. So, and I remember when it was time for him to retire, and Sister Saunders can tell you, Carl Nelson said, we need to have a retirement for him. So myself and a group of others, we had a big retirement for him at WLCAC, straight out of Watts. We had a retirement for him, and he was in London. I've seen him at Dr. Rosie Milliken, Black Writers on Tour. We've seen his books. We've heard him speak. We've heard what he had to say. I People say, I seen you in Vegas, Molly Bell. I saw the flag on the car. So I just want you to know that we will remember him. Dr. Karinga said, never say I loved somebody, because you put them in the past. I love me some Dr. Anyim Palmer. All you prayer warriors out there, you know what you've got to do. You've got to keep fasting. You've got to keep praying, because the struggle continues. But always to God be the glory.
Greetings, family. I'm Thomas T.J. Lofton. I first was introduced to Dr. Anyim Palmer by a sister friend of ours, Ifa Sade of The Good Life. She told me, she said, I know somebody just like you that you really need to meet. This is another brother that's a business owner. I had a lowrider shop back then, and I wasn't bragging about it. I didn't want nobody to know about it because I was from Compton. So we had a bad rap back then. But when I met Anyim, he said, brother, any black man doing something positive need to be standing in front of people teaching it. So we supposed to hook something up, and it never really happened because I moved away. But years later, I got invited to come back and speak at Marcus Garvey. And I was able to bring some lowriders from the movie straight out of Compton. Now I'm gonna tell you, I speak all around the country, and when I leave those colleges, I'll be concerned because I don't think they get it. They don't understand what's going on in the economy. But as I stood in front of Marcus Garvey student, and them students started asking me questions. Now I walked in and I dumbed it down some, because I'm talking to 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds. But as I stood there and them young people started, I said, I do lowriders, y'all know what that is? What hydraulics is? They said, yeah, when you break the combustion down in the... I had to bring it all the way back up as if I was talking to some rocket scientists, because I didn't even know what they was talking about. And I've been doing it for years, but I'm honored to be here today to speak on that brother that changed my life. And I was one of the few people who was able to sit in Amon Rock on the front row and listen. So I'm honored to be here today. Thank you all.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Ralph Dawson, but they have other words for me. I hear people talk about Compton and Watts. I lived on the 18th in Bellhaven. I worked at Elsie Gardner Willowbrook in the Watts Willowbrook Community Action Agency before I came to the university. Palmer and I met at Cal State LA. I was chairman or director of the EOP program. He was chairman of Pan-African Studies. We made a deal. Anybody that came in through EOP had to take classes in Pan-African Studies. Because if you were colored when you came, you're going to be black when you left. And I lasted for quite a while. I had to leave EOP and I became director of counseling, but I still had my finger in the pie, and we were still doing things to aid and assist black students who wanted to come there and acquire the educational opportunities that were there for them. Palmer was a tough man. He was a real man. He said, Ralph, it's all right. You don't have to be so crazy, but please understand who you represent and what you're trying to get done. I said, I got it. So we worked in tandem to make sure that black people that came into school came in understanding they had a commitment to the reality of the black history and the reality of African American people. I told him something one day and he said that he wanted to steal it. I told him, red, black, and green. Red is for the blood that flowed. It was lost by our ancestors but continues to run through our bloods today, through our veins today. Black is for the people who came out of Africa into the world and changed every continent there was. Black is for the people.
Yes.
And green is for lush, live, living Africa, the soil, the Mother Earth that made us the people we are. Anyim Palmer was an intellectual, he was a black man, and he was for real.
Brother Anyim. It was December 26, 1977. It was on 43rd place at Leimert Park. The first Kwanzaa Gwarri Day. It was a red, black, and green Porsche. Anyim Palmer's Porsche. I sold him the Porsche, so that's why I know about it. I was, one of my incarnations, I was a car salesman. And it was the K-Ace double-decker red bus, the London red bus that K-Ace radio station had. So we formed there, and we were waiting for other folks to come. We were supposed to start at 1 o'clock, and we did. Brother Amanifu, Henry Brown, Amanifu and I decorated the vehicles. We put Happy Kwanzaa on there, and it was Anyim Palmer. He was in front, driving this red, black, and green Porsche. And D.D. Davis, the father of football great Willie Davis, who owned KH Radio, he was driving the the double-decker bus. Amanifu rode with Dr. Palmer, and I rode with D.D. Davis, and we waited, as I said, till 1 o'clock. Nobody else came, so we turned around, made a U-turn on 43rd. Headed over to Crenshaw, made a right turn and headed north. And for those of you who don't know, Crenshaw Boulevard represents the Nile River. So we were leaving the headwaters of the Nile, going north, downstream the Nile, to Adams Boulevard, and we wound our way back to the compound in Watts, saying Happy Kwanzaa as we went. That was the beginning of the Kwanzaa Gwarri Day, and Anyim Palmer was one of the cornerstones to help make that be. Anyim Palmer, the late D.D. Davis, Amanifu, and myself, we were the ones that pulled that together, and I'm proud to say my children went to Marcus Garvey. I've been a supporter of Marcus Garvey, and I will continue to be a supporter of Marcus Garvey School and the UNIA to the day I die. I share.
Hello, everybody. My name is Deborah Quinn, and my daughter went to Marcus Garvey from 2 weeks after she made 3 until she graduated 9th grade. I grew up in the 50s in the South, and I rode in the back of the bus and went to places where, where they said white only. So for me, it was very important that my daughter grew up and knew to be proud of herself and her heritage and where she came from. And Marcus Garvey did that for me. She was on the radio when she was only 3, and they asked her, what are the 3 kinds of beaches? And I'm like, what are they doing? There's no 3 kinds of beaches. And she said, Sandy Beach, Shell Beach. I forgot that one. I was so proud. She was 11 years old, and she was working with senior high school students, teaching them math. All that happened because of Marcus Garvey. I'm so proud. And when I saw those little kids come in, they just did something to my heart. And I had to come up to just say how much I appreciate Dr. Palmer and what he contributed to my child's life. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tracy Mitchell, and I am a former student, teacher, and parent of Marcus Garvey School. And he's been here for 8 years now, and he was one of the kids you saw come up today. I'm here for several reasons. One thing is, I'm here to represent the Los Angeles Sentinel and Danny Bakewell, who was a big-time supporter of Marcus Garvey over the years. He used to bring a lot of prominent people from the community to see the academic excellence of the children of Marcus Garvey School. And so we need to get back to that. And I'm glad he said he's getting that band back together, because I'm going to be a part of that band that's getting back together.
That's right.
And for one, I'm going to take on the responsibility of helping bring the alumni to do what we need to do. It's free for the nurturing and all that, but it's not, education is not free. Okay? Everything has a cost. And when Dr. Anyim was here, we had a waiting list. But even as we had that waiting list, we needed our village to come into the community and do their part as well. So the community, we need to do that. And I'm going to start that off by, I'm going to personally donate $250 to Marcus Garvey School. And my mother, I'm continuing her legacy as the president of Mothers in Action. And we are an organization, nonprofit organization, and our goal is to improve the quality of life of the children and families in our community. So in honor of my mother, I'm going to have Mothers in Action match that $250. All right. And then Danny Bakewell was not able to make it here today because his wife is sick and his whole family is really fighting battle with the flu right now. But he told me to make sure I represent him so I do have a resolution from the Los Angeles Sentinel for the family of Anyim Palmer. I'd like to say thank you for sharing him with us. I'd like to thank him for teaching me self-image and self-reliance. Marcus Garvey gave me a voice. I don't know if anybody, parents here, Marcus Garvey students, a lot of parents share the sentiment that kids come here and you're like, who they think they are? But who they know they are, descendants of queens and kings, okay? Who they know they are is they know that they're more than what America would have us believe that we are. We know that we come from greatness, and we know we were enslaved because we had the knowledge, you know, of history, of building pyramids and all of that. And so I just implore all of you to help us give back to Marcus Garvey School. Everybody who's had anything to do, I mean, if you're a student, if you're taught by Dr. Anyim, or if you've ever been a student of Marcus Garvey, we owe Marcus Garvey. We owe Dr. Anyim to keep that legacy alive. One other thing is, I'm also a mentor here. I mentor the young ladies from 3rd to 8th grade here at Marcus Garvey School, and I need help with that. I need my village to help me with that. So please make sure you sign in before you leave here today, so we can find out what everybody's areas of expertise are so we can give back to our children, because it does take a village. And lastly, I have a resolution for the family, and I have one for Ms. Saunders. I also have one for Supervisor Mark Ridley Thomas, and I'll just read his real quick from the County of Los Angeles. It says, Dr. Anyim C. Palmer, celebration of life. The Board of Directors of the County of Los Angeles extends deepest sympathy to you on the passing of your loved one. May his memory continue to live on, inspire those who knew him. And signed by Mark Ridley Thomas. We also have, because of the timeliness of Dr. Anyim's passing during the holidays, a lot of offices shut down for the holidays and all that, so there will be others coming. The mayor is sending the scroll probably next week. Some of the council president and some of the other city council members will have proclamations for you as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Brother Anyim knew me as Betty Powell. I was a freshman at Cal State LA. And I remember meeting him for the first time in class, and I was just in such awe of his presence. So shortly thereafter, I was out at the free speech area on a Friday afternoon. Usually I would be gone by then. But it was, I don't know, it was maybe 5 o'clock. Campus was almost empty. And I walked up on Brother Anyim, and he was looking down on the ground, looking around this tree, and he looked like he was searching for something. And so I said, Brother Anyim, can I help you? What are you looking for? Did you lose something? He said, no, I can't look up into any devil's eyes before sunset or I'll have to fast for the entire week. So that always stayed with me. He kept me on track, and he always reminded me of who I am and where I am as well. Thank you.
Greetings. I'm Deborah Adewale. A lot of the community know me as Alake Adewale. Anyim Palmer. Our journey started 40 years ago. I was one of those EOP students out at Cal State LA, and I also took that class as directed. And going forward, I was good friends with his daughter. I dated his son for many years. And finally, we came full circle after I had my children. So it came back to one day I was sitting at home, having been a student of Dr. Anyim Palmer. I featured myself a Black nationalist, all about community, just, knew my history, and I'm sitting at the breakfast table with my 4-year-old son. And I'm reading a newspaper article, and there was a little boy who ended up shooting someone, and he shot a family member. And so as I read the story, my moral of the story was children should listen to their parents. He did something, he got a hold of this gun, and he shot the relative. So I'm talking to my son, and before I can finish, he goes, I know what color that little boy was. Okay. Antennas going up, what color? Yeah, that little boy had to be black, because if he was white, he would listen to his parents. My son? This is coming out of my son's mouth, and I'm like, okay, I know that's not, I don't do anything to belittle himself, or, I'm teaching self-esteem, I'm all about Black consciousness. Where does he get this from? But he's at a preschool where he exposed to other people. And so I knew at that point he needed to be in an environment where they were nurturing him and teaching him to love himself, because even though I love myself and I thought I was doing a good job, I'm one. And it took the village. So I sent him to Marcus Garvey. And I sent my daughter to Marcus Garvey, who ended up going to college at 12 because I didn't know where else to send her when she finished the 6th grade. She knew too much. Marcus Garvey, Anyim Palmer, forever in my heart. 40 years of journey of 40 years plus, And I'm so grateful for the impact he's had on my family, the impact he had on me as a young person, and just the journey. And one thing I know about him, in my spiritual practice now, one of the things we talk about is steadfastness of purpose. He exhibited steadfastness of purpose throughout his life. One mind, one power, one aim. He did it. He lived it. And so he encouraged us to do the same. And so as long as we call his name, he continues to live. And so we will continue in my household to call his name and call him forth and what he stood for. Amen. Ashe.
Good afternoon. Giving respect to the Palmer family, my name is Carrie Jackson. I am an alumni parent. My son, Devon Jackson, went to Marcus Garvey from preschool till 1997, where he graduated. And from there, he went to King Drew's, and he graduated from there, and from there to Stanford, where he got his PhD in psychology. From Stanford to Howard, where he got his degree as a medical doctor. He is now a neurosurgeon working in Boston. I think Dr. Dr. Palmer, his staff at Marcus Garvey for what they done for my family, what they done for my son. He wouldn't be where he is today if it hadn't been for the foundation from Marcus Garvey. If you want your children to have a great education, it's one of the best schools in the world to send them. Thank you, God bless you, and may Dr. Palmer rest in peace.
How's everybody doing? My name is Ronnie Nicholson. I'm also a former student, former teacher at Marcus Garvey. I don't know what I would have done or where I would be without this school. I remember dreading my little days at Marcus Garvey, standing in these little squares and having to look straight ahead, not being able to talk to the person behind you or in front of you. And at the time, you don't appreciate that type of stuff, you know, but now as an adult and, you know, as a more responsible person, I would say, I really love this school, and it taught me to love who I am and love everything about myself and about my people. You know, it's not one day that I feel like I have a conversation about my school every day, and I always look back on my foundation and know where I come from. I'm 20 weeks away from becoming a doctor. It wouldn't be if it wasn't for this school. The school has taught me so much confidence and knowledge of self that I'll be damned if they tell me I couldn't do anything. I said.
How you doing? I'm not big in social speaking, but I say, you know, I went to this school when it was on 54th Street, when it was in the 80s, and my kids go here now. I got my first son graduated, my middle son is here, and my youngest son, he's 4 years old, so he's waiting to come here too. I wouldn't send my kids nowhere else. I hear a lot of parents talk about the school, and they're too strict, and they're too disciplined, and they're this and they're that, but if it wasn't, because of that is the reason why most of the kids I see, they're not violent. And a lot of schools out here, they don't care. And I wouldn't take I snatched my kids out of plenty of schools because they don't care. And when I leave the school to drop my kid off, I want to know that the people teaching them and taking care of them, they just like me. And I can leave my kids at Marcus Garvey and I don't have a worry in the world. I don't think nothing will happen. I know they well educated, that they are. And when I went there, my mom signed a petition, like a paper for us to get SWATs. You know, I got SWATs. You mess up in school, you got hit with the paddle. You know, it's a lot of stuff, but I appreciate it. I told them now that if they did it now, I'd sign a paper for my kids to do the same thing. You know, it was discipline, but that's the reason why, to this day, that a lot of my friends from this school, they're successful, and when I talk to them, we always talk about how disciplined it was and how we were scared to get in trouble, but we made sure we had our homework, and it was just so much from Brother Lou to Dr. Anyim, Sister Sonda, Sister Spencer, Sister Shields, I love that school. And we didn't have basketball courts, it wasn't traditional. We would have Michael Jackson battles with WEB, Du Bois Kids and stuff like that. You know, we didn't do a lot, but we learned. We had black comic books, we had pretty much black everything. I mean, it was pro-black, and because of that, you can't survive in this world if you don't have knowledge of self. And what this school does, it teaches you knowledge of self. And if you don't have knowledge of self, the world will break you down. But this school here to keep that, it pretty much keeps that from happening. And it does get, you know, it's private, so it costs. And sometimes it does become a struggle, but I struggle to keep my kids here. They're not going nowhere else. I wouldn't care if I couldn't. I'll find a way for them to stay at this school. So, you know, he wouldn't let us sag. He wouldn't let us wear fat laces in our shoes. He would he would make us tie him up real tight, and he didn't care if you thought you was tough, he'd break through that too. And I respect this school and everything it did for me, and everything that it's doing for my kids, and we're not going nowhere.
All right.
Good to see you.
In the village, we do it for the strong man. So everybody's going to do the dance for the strong man as we honor our king, our loved one, Dr. Palmer, because he was a strong man. Ashe? Ashe. Dum dum ba.